So I got a comment that really inspired this video. It was by Travis Noble Art, and the question was about transitioning from studying and doing master copies to creating your own work. Basically, how to take what you learn from copying and using that in your own work. That's exactly what we're talking about today. The best way to develop a new art style is to copy the works of those who you want to draw as. But while you're copying, you need to understand that one day you're gonna have to move on from all that copying. You don't want to stay stuck copying forever. Getting stuck like that, I call it master copy jail. So how do you actually use master copies to your advantage? How do you take everything you've learned from copying and make it your own style? This is something that a lot of people miss and that I almost missed as well. First thing is, every time you draw a master copy, draw something else immediately after. Something from life, something from memory, or something from imagination. We did this in art school and tried our best to do it in the same style that we had just copied. Let's say we drew a master copy of a figure. We would then test what we had just learned by using those same tactics used for the master copy in real life. I'll give you an example of how my style has changed. Here's how I drew using reference before art school, and here's how I handled references after. And you can see that the drawing of my little sisters looks more realistic. Meanwhile, the other one, the old one, looks more doll-ish. Like it gives more of a doll vibe. So think about it like this. The master copy teaches you the rules, and your own drawing is where you start bending those rules. That's how you truly escape master copy jail. And don't worry if your first attempts don't look perfect. That's the point. They're basically experiments. That's why you should have a sketchbook where you try everything. You're learning how the style works in your hands, not just on papers. You're figuring out how to speak in someone else's style while still sounding like you, almost like learning a language. The second tip that I have is really immerse yourself in that style that you want to have. I mean, really surround yourself with it. Eat, live, and breathe it. Look at the work of artists that you love. See how they handled lines, colors, lightning, and texture. Think about why their art reads the way it does, and really look at what makes their work stand out specifically, because there's something about their works that you really like, and you need to find out what that is. What's that little oomph or whatever? Because think about it, different artistic eras focus on different things. When it comes to Baroque, there's a lot of drama. Rococo, you think pastels, you think Bridgerton. That's what I think, at least. My third tip is watch their process videos if they have any. Study their mistakes and their solutions. The more you surround yourself with their work, the more it will stick. You'll start trying to figure out how they drew something while looking after a while. You won't just be in awe, but in problem-solving mode, which is where we want to get at. That's why in fine art school, there would be paintings everywhere. And I did the same by my table. So I basically get constant inspiration. And even while doing something casual like eating, I can look at my wall and notice details that a stressed version of me wouldn't care to see. When you then go and make a piece after that, your brain already has the vocabulary of that style. You don't have to guess anymore. You just make it yours. So basically, it becomes like a remix of your own ideas and what you've learned. So you're not just copying anymore. You're actually creating your own work. Here's a workflow that works really well. First, pick your master copy it, but really pay attention to the details. Try to understand why the artist made the choices that they did. Because even though you're copying, what you're truly searching for is understanding. Right after, make a new piece. It can be something from life, imagination, or memory. In my art school, reference pictures or drawing from pictures was low-key frowned upon, but if you feel like it could help you, then definitely go for that. But try to use the same style you just studied in that drawing. When you're done, compare the two. See what you got right and what you got wrong. Try to see what didn't work for you and where did you struggle the most. These are the moments where real learning happens. Because once you can criticize your own work and know what to fix, that's when you know your eye is developing. And then repeat this until it sticks. Your original art will improve and your desired style will start to follow. A lot of people get stuck because they only do step one. They copy and copy without real substance. And that's exactly what I used to do, to the point where I was low-key scared of going back to drawing my own things. I was almost scared that if I went back to drawing random stuff that were not intentional for improving, I would lose my way of tackling fine artworks. Don't get stuck in only copying. Try to copy a lot, but also using those lessons within your own artworks. It's extremely good to do master copies. I see them as the tool to improve your art. But don't only do that. At some point, you gotta use the lessons you've gotten from them in your own work. The trick is balancing, copying while creating your own work. That's where growth happens. Here's something else that I've noticed. When you do this consistently, you start to see patterns. Certain techniques from different artists start to click together in your head. Maybe you like how one artist draws eyes, another handles shading, and another chooses color. Then you start combining those things in your own drawings. And that's when your style starts to emerge. That's when your art starts to sort of feel like you. Now, a lot of people also make the mistake of trying to learn multiple styles at once. Don't do that. Pick one style at a time, immerse yourself in it, master it, and get better at it. And once you start to understand it, you can make your own art in that style. Then, if you want, you can explore other art styles and maybe even combine them with the new style that you've developed. But I think jumping between too many styles too quickly and too often can confuse your brain. Because before art school, I was like, I want to paint like Michelangelo. I want to paint like the old masters. Going to a school where that's what we did every day for 3 years, I think that was extremely valuable, because had I been by myself, I would have done all of the different styles and like tried different things. But when you do one thing and you repeat it again and again, it will stick, trust me. Do not expect your desired style to appear overnight. Mind you, I wanted to be able to draw like this while I was drawing like this. It took me 3 whole years to understand how you can't even draw like that. But one very valuable thing that one of my teachers said was that this can take like 8 to 10 years. This is not the 1600s when they were apprentices from a very young age. So you need to really understand that this takes time. You might feel like you're just copying forever. You might feel like your originals are clunky or awkward. That's completely normal, and it's part of the process. What matters is the consistency. So keep copying, keep creating your own work, and little by little, you will see improvement. Now, I'm gonna give you an example of the process behind the artwork that is right here, the triangle-shaped painting. I feel like this painting is a really good example of moving on from Mastercopies to doing your own thing. I've given the name Djela Lou Zaouli to this painting. It's a still life. And before painting this, I looked at a lot of still lifes that had items in them specifically. And I think that one of the most important things to focus on when you're doing your own thing is to focus on what message you're trying to convey to the viewer. What do you want them to think about? If someone's looking at this, what do you want them to say or think? And with my painting, it was that I wanted people to think that the mask that is in the middle, I wanted them to see the mask as something powerful and something that has abilities. I wanted the viewer to think, this mask must be very powerful and capable of things. Hence why I added those items at the bottom where you could think like, oh, that makes sense. Like the mask is doing something with these items. And you might wonder why I made it triangle shaped, because I wanted to force or like push the composition onto the viewer too. I simply wanted the viewer to see it the way I saw it. So you see the mask first, and then you wonder, oh, what is it doing? And what is it looking at? And why is it looking down? When you look at something that you've set up, if it's a still life or anything, you need to look at where your eyes go first. Where do they go first and where do they go next? And at first, I was gonna do a simple rectangle shaped painting, but given how I had placed things, it looked very triangle-like. And I thought, oh, what would make this piece even more powerful? further pushing that triangle shape that I was already seeing. So for me, it always starts with an idea. Sometimes it's just a sentence that pops up in my head, or it could just be like a mood that I cannot shake off. This painting, the idea came to me first. I had thought about this painting since I think we started painting at school. We had not even started painting with color yet, and I was already searching for African masks in Ivory Coast. I just wanted it to feel like it was looking back at you, like something spiritual was happening, but something calming at the same time. The second painting that I did that was very much like this was my circle-shaped painting. I can actually read to you what I wrote about this painting and what my thought process was. Rebirth to me is the chance to reinvent yourself. Every time you overcome an obstacle, you are altering yourself. You become a new person. No matter what it is, you come out stronger after the experience you've had. Therefore, I chose to show that by changing skin and making that connection to snakes. A snake sheds its skin about 2 to 4 times a year, but I think in the human's case, we constantly evolve, pretty much every day. I chose to also add these 3 African masks called the Zaouli masks because they represent a story of a woman called Djela Lou Zaouli, and there are 3 versions of her story. Long story short, she is a representation of birth and death, depending on how you choose to see her. And I chose to combine those 2 factors because in order to be reborn, you'll have to die first, which happens every time you overcome something. That older version of you dies, and the new upgraded version appears. After that comes the sketch stage, where I figure out the composition. This is where I decide, okay, what shape do I want this painting to be? What's the balance? Do I want the viewer's eyes to move in a circle, diagonally, or stay centered? For this piece, the circle shape made sense because it matched the theme of rebirth. When it comes to a circle, it's continuous. It's like an energy loop. So when I did this, I just thought to myself, a circle, like the circle of life. Then after figuring all of that out, I do either a value study or a little sketch in either black and white, or I actually paint the value study. This is just to make sure that the light and dark areas actually make sense. I learned this in art school. Before you even start painting, you have to make sure that your composition works and that your values work together, because color cannot fix a bad structure. Sometimes I do a preparatory sketch as well, just to test out how things feel. And the preparatory sketch, for me, when it came to my circled painting, it was just a rough sketch. When we would paint figures at school and we would do a preparatory drawing, we were very intentional with everything that we drew so that we had things correct before we transferred. So you can choose to be very intentional, or you can just do a quick sketch. But when I was painting my circled painting, I was just doing me. And then you can transfer your preparatory sketch onto the canvas. I can actually do a video on how to transfer properly, or how we were taught to transfer. You transfer, and actually I feel like transferring is a whole process, so I prefer to draw with charcoal on my canvas. And that's what I did with the triangle one. I didn't do that with the circle one though. I wish I had done that. I feel like transferring that was difficult. Like, the circle is huge, like it's almost the same height as me. I'll show you a picture of me and my friend carrying it. Once that's done, I go directly into painting. And when I'm painting, I'm still thinking about the things that I studied prior to even starting my painting. The Mastercopies and how the old masters layered colors, how they handled their edges. I still think about that and I try to replicate it in my own work. That's where the studying meets your own instincts, because now you really have to start solving problems by yourself now and not rely on the old masters. And the cool part of it all is that after doing a bunch of Mastercopies, you start realizing how natural those decisions start to feel. You're not overthinking it, and it's like your brain already knows what to do since it has already practiced prior to this. So basically, my full process looks like this: idea, sketch, value study, preparatory sketch, drawing or transfer, and then paint. And the more you repeat this process, the more confident you will get, and it'll feel almost like second nature to you. Start making artistic decisions on instinct instead of just guessing. And that's how you keep improving. Try to make it a habit of drawing something original right after a master copy. Make it a rule for yourself so that it becomes automatic almost. Keep a folder or a sketchbook just for your own work in that style, so that you can actively watch it grow. Seeing your own progress is extremely motivating. Or you can put up your own artworks on your walls so that you can see how much you've progressed. Don't be afraid to fail. The first few original drawings that you will draw will most likely look a bit rough, and that's okay. It's actually good because you're experimenting and you are going to improve. I'll show you my first figure drawing versus one of my last figure drawings. You see the difference? Most importantly, have fun. Master copies are tools, not destinations. So copy, learn, and then create. That's the cycle that turns copying into true skill and style development. So yeah, to summarize, the best way to not get caught up in master copy jail is to copy, but use those copies to your own benefit by then drawing your own work. You gotta remix what you just learned and make it yours, because that's the only way that your style will really improve. I think the art becomes you at last. If you do this consistently over time, you'll notice something amazing. Your art won't just be technically good. It will have character. It will have a voice. It will be you. And that's the ultimate goal, honestly. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you, and I appreciate that you guys are sending me comments for video ideas, because this series is very important to me. I really want to share what I've learned in art school, and I thank you for commenting. Have a nice day, and I'll see you in the next one. Mwah.